Right now, let go of the weight on your shoulders, relax your jaw, and feel your tongue fall softly to the floor of your mouth. Because tonight, on this long and calm night, we will go on a journey together, a long journey. But this is no ordinary journey. This is a slow, very slow dive towards the deepest point of the world, to the heart of silence, to the softest corner of darkness, to the Mariana Trench. And here, on this 2-hour journey, you have no rush, no responsibilities. Just breathe in, breathe out, and let the words carry you. Just like the ocean water carries a feather. Because tonight you will not count sheep, no. Instead, you will dive softly, silently into one of the most mysterious places on Earth. And if you fall asleep during this journey, that is perfect. If you stay awake until the end, that is also perfect. Because in either case, your mind will be relaxed, your body will be loosened. Now you can close your eyes or look softly at the ceiling and imagine you are standing on the surface of the world. There are billions of people around you, all living their daily lives, rushing, talking. But you are doing something different right now. You are looking at the deepest point of the world, and you are about to dive in a moment. On the western shore of the Pacific Ocean, about 340 kilometers southwest of the island of Guam, exactly 10,994 meters below the water surface, at a depth of almost 11 kilometers. There is a point called Challenger Deep, also known as the Black Hole on Earth. And this point is the deepest place of all known oceans, all seas, all waters. You cannot go deeper, because this is where you are closest to the Earth's crust itself. Think about this. You are currently at the closest distance to the mantle layer beneath the planet's crust. And this trench is not just deep. It is also a time capsule, a memory bank, a cathedral of silence. Because there, in those dark waters, a 4.4 billion-year-old story is written. Atom by atom, crystal by crystal, pressure by pressure. And tonight, I will tell you that story. Perhaps if you are lucky, we will go on an adventure with you, very slowly, with a very soft voice. And you will just listen, or accompany with your imagination. You will breathe, and maybe, you will fall asleep. But first, let's understand this. The human eye can see only 0.00003% of the ocean. Think about this. The volume of all oceans is about 1.335 billion cubic kilometers. And you, in a dive, have a visibility of only a few hundred meters with your eyes. This means that 99.99997% of the ocean is outside your direct field of vision. Invisible, unknown. And the Mariana Trench is the deepest layer of this invisibility. What a magnificent black hole. And we will shed light on this trench, and you will feel your field of vision expanding. There is no light there, because sunlight can reach a maximum depth of 1,000 meters, but our light will reach the very bottom. We call this the photic zone. But the Mariana Trench is 11 kilometers down, meaning there is absolute, complete, perfect darkness there. But this darkness, this is not just the absence of light. It is a place where we and time slow down, because at that depth, the pressure is so high. 1,086 bars per square centimeter. That is about 15,750 pounds per square inch. This is like putting the weight of 50 jumbo jets on the tip of your finger. And under this pressure, matter behaves differently. Water itself is different, denser, heavier, more silent. Because even sound waves slow down under that pressure. And molecules, their vibrations come almost to a standstill, just like a moment when time freezes. And now, relax every muscle fiber in your shoulders. Feel the lines on your forehead soften. And imagine, you are in a submersible. But this is not an ordinary submarine. This is a specially designed capsule made of titanium alloy. Only you are inside, and slowly, meter by meter, you descend. In the first 200 meters, there is still some light. When you look up, the water surface looks like a shimmering silver sheet, and fish are swimming around you, colorful, alive. But slowly, the light fades. 300 meters, 400 meters, and now the sun's rays no longer reach your eyes. But there is still bioluminescence, meaning some creatures produce their own light. Small jellyfish, fish, bacteria. They all emit a greenish-bluish light, just like the stars in the sky. But these are underwater stars, and each one is a chemical miracle, because this light is born from the reaction of a molecule called luciferin with oxygen, and this reaction produces photons, packets of light, and these light packets travel within the water and reach your eye, and you see this light. And this has been so for millions of years, because bioluminescence evolved 540 million years ago in the Cambrian period. So these lights are an ancient language, a form of communication, a survival strategy. And you, right now, are a witness to that ancient light. Breathe, a deep breath, and feel the weight of your body slowly decreasing, just like the buoyancy of water pushing you upwards. But you are going down, 500 meters, 600 meters, and now bioluminescence is decreasing too, because this is the mesopelagic zone, the twilight zone. And here, living things are much sparser, because food is scarce. There is no sunlight, so no photosynthesis, so no plants, so no grass. And therefore, the creatures here are dependent on marine snow falling from above. Marine snow. What a beautiful name, isn't it? But this is not real snow. This is dead plankton, fish feces, plant parts, chemical residues, all of them slowly, very slowly, centimeter by centimeter, float downwards, just like snowflakes in the air. But this snow falls only a few meters per hour, meaning it can take months, even years, for a snowflake to reach the bottom of the Mariana Trench from the surface. And during this journey, bacteria live, die, and multiply on that snowflake. And at every layer, that snowflake gets a little smaller because bacteria eat it, and finally, only the most indigestible parts reach the bottom. And there, those parts slowly, very slowly, turn into mud, into sedimentary rock, eventually into stone. And this stone is a record of time, because every layer represents a moment of the past, just like the rings on a tree trunk. And scientists, by studying these layers, can learn the temperature, salinity, oxygen levels of the oceans millions of years ago. Because every atom carries a story. For example, the salt in seawater, sodium chloride. This is a simple molecule, but this molecule has a perfect cubic structure. Every sodium atom is surrounded by 6 chloride atoms, and every chloride atom is surrounded by 6 sodium atoms. And in this way, a flawless geometric grid is formed, a crystal lattice. And this lattice is so orderly, it is almost a work of art. And these crystals keep the chemical diary of ancient climates, because the isotope ratios of salt depend on the temperature, evaporation rate, rainfall amount of that time. So a salt crystal is actually a time capsule. And you, right now, are passing through that time capsule. 700 meters, 800 meters, 900 meters. And now it is completely dark. There is no light, only the LED lamps of your submersible. And these lamps create a short funnel of light inside the water. And outside that funnel, absolute darkness. But this darkness is not empty. No, because the water is full of molecules, billions of water molecules in every milliliter. H2O, 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom. And every water molecule has a slight electrical charge. The oxygen side is negative, the hydrogen side is positive. And this charge allows molecules to stick to each other. We call these hydrogen bonds. And these bonds are the reason water is liquid, because these bonds are strong enough to hold the molecules together, but weak enough that the molecules can move. And this balance is the foundation of life, because water is the most special liquid in the universe. When it is denser, it sinks down. When it is less dense, it rises up. And this movement creates the currents of the ocean, invisible currents, ocean currents. We can liken these to the dark matter holding the galaxy together, because dark matter is invisible, but its effect is felt everywhere. Likewise, ocean currents are invisible, but everywhere. And these currents determine the world's climate, because these currents carry warm water from the equator to the poles, and cold water from the poles to the equator. And this transport distributes heat, and this distribution balances air temperatures. And this balance makes life possible. Think about it. If there were no ocean currents, the equator would be scorchingly hot, the poles deadly cold, and life would be limited to only a narrow band. But there are currents, and these currents are like the heartbeats of the world, slow, rhythmic, never-stopping beats. And now you have reached 1,000 meters. And this is the beginning of the bathypelagic zone, the midnight zone. And after this, bioluminescence is almost completely gone, because there is no energy, no sunlight, and therefore the creatures here have very slow metabolisms. Some fish feed only once a month, and some wait without moving for years, waiting for prey. And this waiting is almost like meditation, because it is so slow that time seems almost stopped. And maybe you are feeling that sensation now too, that time is slowing down, that your breathing is deepening, that your heartbeats are calming, and this is normal, because this is the purpose of this story, to slow you down, to calm your mind, and maybe to enable you to fall asleep. And if this story is doing you good, if this depth, this silence relaxes your mind, please consider subscribing to this channel, because here, every video is both a lesson and a meditation. Science and peace hand in hand. But now, let's continue. 1,500 meters, 2,000 meters, and the pressure is increasing steadily. Now 200 bars. That means 200 kilograms of weight on every square centimeter. And under this pressure, gases change their behavior just like you are doing in this video. For example, oxygen and nitrogen dissolve more in water. And if a human tried to descend to this depth without a protective capsule, their lungs would collapse instantly. Because air under that pressure approaches liquid density. But the creatures living here perceive this pressure as normal, because their cells have adapted to this pressure. For instance, the cell membranes of the fish here are made of special fatty acids, more flexible, more resistant, and their proteins have evolved to maintain their shape under pressure. And this is the product of millions of years, a masterpiece of natural selection. Because in every generation, the individuals best adapted to the pressure survived, and their genes were passed on to the next generations. And thus, today, the fish living in the Mariana Trench are completely different from any surface fish. Their eyes are very large to catch the scarce light, or conversely, no eyes at all, because eyes have no meaning in the dark, and their bodies are usually translucent, gelatinous, because calcium and hard structures are a waste of energy under pressure, and therefore evolution preferred the most minimal design. Isn't it astonishing how flawlessly evolution works? Anyway, let's get back to our topic. Only what is necessary, and this minimalism is actually very beautiful, because these fish are almost like ghosts, gliding softly in the water, and you, if you could see them, would be hypnotized watching their movements, because it is so slow, so elegant, just like a ballerina, but in water and in the dark. And now you have reached 3,000 meters. And here you notice something. The water temperature is changing, because this is below the thermocline zone. The thermocline is the layer where temperature change is most rapid. And below this layer, the water temperature is almost constant, about 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. And this temperature does not change throughout the year, because sunlight does not reach here, and therefore this is one of the most stable climates in the world. No seasonal changes, no day-night cycle, just a constant, cold, dark environment. And in this environment, time flows differently, because there is no change. And without change, it is hard to feel the flow of time, just like you are feeling right now. Maybe you no longer remember how much time has passed since the beginning of this video. Maybe 10 minutes passed, maybe 30. But this is not important, because here, time has no importance. What is important is this moment, this breath, this peace. And now, 4,000 meters, 5,000 meters, and you are now in the abyss-opelagic zone, the abyss zone. And after here, the number of living things decreases even further, because there is almost no food, only those rare grains of marine snow falling from above. And to catch these grains, some creatures have developed massive mouths. For example, the viperfish. This fish's mouth is larger than its own body, because at this depth, finding food is so rare that when an opportunity comes, one must not miss it. And some fish can expand their stomachs, so they can swallow prey much larger than themselves. And this prey sometimes stays in their stomachs for months, slowly being digested. And this is actually a very clever strategy, because they save energy. Instead of a fast metabolism, a slow but efficient digestion, and this allows them to survive. And now, think. These fish have been living this way for millions of years, for generations. And in their DNA, all the secrets of this deep ocean are written. Every gene is an adaptation story, and these stories are actually some of the oldest stories in the world, because the ocean is where life was born. 3.8 billion years ago, the first cells formed in the warm, mineral-rich waters of the ocean. And those first cells were very simple, just a membrane, a few molecules inside. But these molecules could copy themselves, and this copying was the beginning of life. And since that day, life evolved, diversified, spread, and today, even at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, there is life. Because life is incredibly resilient and incredibly creative. And now you have reached 6,000 meters. And this is the beginning of the hadopelagic zone, the trench zone. And after here, there are only very special places like the Mariana Trench, because most of the ocean is not this deep. The average ocean depth is about 3,800 meters. But the Mariana Trench is almost 3 times deeper. And this depth is a result of tectonic plates, because the Mariana Trench is on a subduction zone, meaning here, one tectonic plate slides under another. The Pacific plate dives under the Philippine plate, and this diving creates a deep trough on the ocean floor. And this trough is the Mariana Trench. And this trench is about 2,550 kilometers long and on average 69 kilometers wide. So this is like a massive scar, a cut opened on the surface of the world. And this cut is proof of the dynamic nature of our world, because the world is not a static planet. No, the world is like a living organism, constantly moving, constantly changing. Its plates slide, mountains rise, volcanoes erupt, oceans expand. And all these movements are very slow, a few centimeters a year. But over millions of years, these movements shape continents, create oceans, and constantly reshape the world. And the Mariana Trench is a part of this ongoing process. And you, right now, are right in the middle of that process. 7,000 meters, 8,000 meters, and the pressure is now incredible. 800 bars, that is 800 kilograms per square centimeter. And under this pressure, even water itself is compressed. So water at this depth is denser than at the surface, and this density affects wave speed. Sound waves travel faster in dense water, and therefore, in the depths, sound transmission is very efficient. The low-frequency calls of whales can reach hundreds, even thousands of kilometers away, because water is a perfect sound conductor. And in the Mariana Trench, sound waves echo off the walls of the trench. And this echo is almost musical, just like a cathedral of silence. And on the walls of this cathedral, a history of millions of years is written. In rocks, in minerals, in sediments. Every layer is a page of the past. And now you are approaching 9,000 meters. And here, the chemistry of the water begins to change. Because at this depth, you are close to the ocean floor. And on the ocean floor, there are hydrothermal vents. These vents spew out hot water coming from inside the earth. And this water is very rich in minerals, sulfides, metals, gases, all coming from the Earth's mantle. And these minerals, upon contact with water, form precipitates. And these precipitates accumulate around the vent, building high towers, some 60 meters high, just like the spires of Gothic cathedrals. But these are not made of stone, but of iron sulfide, copper sulfide, zinc sulfide. And these towers are known as black smokers because the water they spray is dark, almost black. And this blackness is due to precipitate particles. And around these vents, a very special ecosystem develops because this hot water is an energy source. And bacteria here perform chemosynthesis, meaning these bacteria produce organic matter using chemical energy without the need for sunlight. And these bacteria are the foundation of the entire ecosystem because giant tube worms eat these bacteria, and these worms are sometimes 2 meters long, and they have no mouth, no digestive system, because they are in a symbiotic relationship with bacteria. Bacteria live inside the worm and provide them with food, and in return, the worm provides shelter to the bacteria. And this relationship has been going on for millions of years. And this is an indication of how flexible and creative life is, because life finds a way even without sunlight, even in the dark, even under pressure, even within toxic chemicals. Life thrives. And now, breathe a deep, slow breath and feel your chest softly expanding, your ribcage opening, and then release the breath slowly and feel all tension, all stress leaving your body, just like the hot water in the Mariana Trench coming out of the Earth's crust. And you, now, are approaching 10,000 meters. And this is the final layer, Challenger Deep. And this name comes from the HMS Challenger ship that discovered this region in 1875. And this ship was the first oceanographic research vessel in history. And the crew tried to measure the depth of the sea with weighted ropes using the technology of that time. And they found a depth of about 8,000 meters, which was an incredible discovery for that time. But the real depth was much more. And this depth could only be measured in 1951 with more advanced sonar technology. And then, in 1960, January 23rd, 2 brave men, Jacques Picard and Don Walsh, descended to the bottom of Challenger Deep with a bathyscaphe named Trieste, and now we are descending to the very bottom, me and you. And this descent was a first in history. And during that descent, it took about 5 hours to go down. And they, inside that small capsule, felt the massive power of pressure. They heard the metal creaking, and they were scared. But at the same time, they felt incredible excitement because they were going to a place no human had seen. And when they reached the bottom, they looked out the window. And do you know what they saw? A fish, a small, flat fish. There, at 10,916 meters, there was life. And this discovery shocked the scientific world, because until then, many scientists thought life was impossible at this depth. But life, once again, exceeded expectations. And now, you are at that point too, at the bottom of Challenger Deep, at a depth of 10,994 meters. And you look around, and at the bottom, there is soft, white mud. This mud is the final state of marine snow accumulating for millions of years. And this mud is compressed, densified under the weight of pressure, and within it, single-celled organisms live. Foraminifera radiolarians. These organisms are so small, you cannot see them without a microscope. But they survive here in these extreme conditions, and their reproduction, their breathing, or rather their performing of anaerobic metabolism, because oxygen is very scarce here, and therefore these organisms have learned to produce energy without oxygen. And this is a biochemical miracle, because respiration without oxygen is very inefficient. But these organisms have slowed down their metabolisms to compensate for this, and thus they can survive with very little energy. And they live there, inside that mud, slowly, very slowly. Generations pass, and every generation is almost the same as the previous one, because this environment has not changed for millions of years, and this stability ensures their survival. And now, think, these organisms are living witnesses of world history, because their ancestors were perhaps here 500 million years ago too, and since then they have been living here, in this deep darkness, silently. And in their DNA, there are traces of those ancient times. In their genetic codes, clues of what the world was like are hidden, and scientists, by studying the DNA of these organisms, can reconstruct the past. For example, how the sea level changed, how the salinity of the oceans fluctuated, how climate changes occurred, because these organisms had to adapt to those changes. And every adaptation means a gene mutation, and every mutation leaves a trace in the DNA, and these traces can be read like a book. And this book is the autobiography of the world. And you, right now, are on the deepest page of that book. And now, if this journey relaxes your mind, if this depth, this knowledge, this silence gives you peace, please consider subscribing to this channel. Because here, every night, we offer you similar journeys, in space, in deep oceans, in microscopic worlds. Everywhere, science and calmness are together. And now, breathe in and let go, and let's continue. Because the story of the Mariana Trench is not finished yet. No, because here, there are not just living organisms. Here at the same time are the oldest rocks of the world, and these rocks are made of zircon crystals. Zircon, zirconium silicate. And this crystal is incredibly durable, almost indestructible. And these crystals are 4.4 billion years old, meaning they crystallized only 160 million years after the Earth formed. And since then, they have maintained their existence here or in different parts of the world. And inside these crystals, there are traces of ancient water. Because while zircon crystallizes, it can trap water molecules in its structure. And scientists, by measuring the isotope ratios of these trapped water molecules, can learn the chemistry of the oceans 4.4 billion years ago. And the findings are surprising, because these findings show that the Earth possessed liquid water at a very early date. And liquid water means mild temperatures, and mild temperatures means suitable conditions for life. So life perhaps began much earlier than we thought. Perhaps 4 billion years ago. Perhaps even earlier. And this teaches us something. Life is not just a coincidence. Life is perhaps a natural consequence of the universe, because the chemical rules in the universe support life. Carbon atoms, hydrogen bonds, water molecules, all are perfect building blocks for life. And these building blocks are abundant in the universe. So maybe life is not just on Earth. Maybe it exists on other planets too, on planets around other stars, in other galaxies. And maybe, right now, another being on another planet is descending to the bottom of their ocean, and they too are asking the same questions. Are we alone? How old is the universe? How did life begin? And these questions are universal questions, because consciousness, wherever it is, wonders, wants to understand. And now, think. You are a part of this curiosity, because you, right now, are learning the secrets of the Mariana Trench. And this learning connects you to the knowledge accumulation of all humanity, because everything you learn is built upon someone else's discovery, and your curiosity will inspire future discoveries. And thus, knowledge is passed down for generations. And this transfer is humanity's greatest achievement, because we alone can know very little. But together, by building upon each other's discoveries, we can learn incredible things. And the Mariana Trench is a product of this collective knowledge, because to explore this trench, thousands of scientists, engineers, divers, technicians worked, and their efforts allowed us to understand this trench today. And now, breathe in and feel your body completely relaxing, your arms being heavy, your legs relaxing, and your eyes, if they are still open, slowly closing, because this story is taking you slowly, very slowly to sleep. And this is normal, because the Mariana Trench is the deepest point of silence, and silence calls for sleep. And now, I will tell you about another miracle at the bottom of the Mariana Trench: amphipods. These small crustaceans are about 1 to 2 centimeters long, and they live here under this extreme pressure. And they are actually very interesting, because amphipods usually live in shallow waters. But the ones in the Mariana Trench have developed special adaptations. For example, in their shells, there are aluminum compounds, and this aluminum makes the shell more flexible, so it doesn't break under pressure. And their cells contain special molecules. These molecules, called piezolites, protect proteins under pressure. And without these molecules, proteins would deform and not work. But thanks to these molecules, amphipods can survive even at 1,000 bars of pressure. And this is a biochemical miracle, because the discovery of these molecules not only allowed us to understand amphipods, but also helped us understand the behavior of human cells under stress, because cellular mechanisms under pressure can be used in understanding diseases. For example, high blood pressure applies mechanical stress to cells, and this stress affects cell membranes. And by studying the cell membranes of creatures in the Mariana Trench, scientists can better understand how high blood pressure affects cells. And this knowledge helps in the development of new drugs. So the Mariana Trench is not just a subject of curiosity, it is also a laboratory for medical research, because extreme environments teach us a lot about normal environments. And now, let me tell you another miracle. Plastic was found in the Mariana Trench. Yes, you heard right. At a depth of 10,000 meters, man-made plastic pieces were discovered. And this is both sad and instructive. Sad because human impact has now reached even the farthest corners of the world. But instructive because this shows us how connected the oceans are, because that plastic was probably thrown into the sea from a coast or a ship, and then carried by currents, and slowly, very slowly, sank down. And years, maybe decades later, reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And there, right now, those plastic pieces are being buried among sedimentary layers. And thousands of years later, maybe a future scientist will find that plastic and will say, this is evidence of the Anthropocene era. This is a fossil of the period when humans affected the planet's geology. And this teaches us a lesson, because we, humans, have now become a geological force. Our actions affect not just the surface, but the entire planet, the atmosphere, the oceans, even the deepest trenches. And this responsibility is a great responsibility, because we are deciding what kind of planet we will leave to future generations. And these decisions are being made now, every day, with every action. And maybe this story reminds you not only of the Mariana Trench, but also of your own responsibility. But now, let's return to those deep waters, because there is still much to tell. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, there are small volcanic hills, and these hills are a result of seismic activity, because here, tectonic plates are moving, and this movement pushes magma up. And when magma contacts cold ocean water, it cools instantly, and basalt rocks are formed. And these basalts are a part of the new ocean crust, because here, the ocean crust is constantly renewing. While the old crust descends in the subduction zone, the new crust rises at mid-ocean ridges. And this cycle has been continuing for millions of years. And this cycle keeps the world dynamic, because without this cycle, the Earth would be like Mars, dead, static, motionless. But on Earth, there is plate tectonics. And this plate tectonics not only shapes the oceans, but also affects the climate, because volcanoes release carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and greenhouse gas warms the Earth. But at the same time, with rains, carbon dioxide binds to rocks, and rocks settle on the ocean floor, and the ocean floor descends in subduction zones. And thus, carbon dioxide re-enters the mantle. And this cycle keeps the world's climate in balance for millions of years. And this balance is critical for life. Because if carbon dioxide were too much, the world would be too hot. If it were too little, the world would be too cold. But plate tectonics works like a thermostat, and this thermostat ensures the world remains habitable, and the Mariana Trench is a part of this thermostat. And now, take a deep breath and release and feel. All your thoughts slowing down, your mind calming, and maybe you are close to sleep now. And this is perfect, because that is the purpose of this story, to relax you, to loosen your mind, and maybe, while giving you knowledge, also helping you sleep. And now, let me tell you one last miracle. In the Mariana Trench, there are bioluminescent halos. Yes, sometimes, inside deep waters, mysterious rings of light are seen. And these rings stem from the bioluminescence of single-celled organisms called dinoflagellates. And these organisms emit light when disturbed, and this light is blue-green in color, and very beautiful, just like stars swimming underwater. And these light rings are sometimes very large, a few meters in diameter, and they turn slowly inside the water. And this rotation is a result of currents, because currents carry these organisms, and they emit light synchronized with each other. And this synchronization is provided by chemical signals. So these organisms communicate with each other, and this communication creates a collective light show. And this show is perhaps one of nature's most beautiful works of art, because this light has no purpose. It exists just to exist. And this is actually a very deep thing, because the universe is not just about functionality. The universe also creates beauty. And this beauty can exist without serving any purpose, just by existing. And maybe this is the deepest meaning of life. Just to exist, just to breathe, just to experience this moment. And you, right now, are experiencing this moment, inside these deep waters, in the heart of this silence, in the flow of this knowledge. And this experience is yours. And this is beautiful. And now, let your body relax completely. Let your mind empty. And if you want to sleep, sleep. Because at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, everything is slow. Everything is calm. Everything is peaceful. And you too are now a part of that peace. Breathe in and let go. Breathe in and let go. And feel gravity softening completely, your body floating, just like the creatures in the Mariana Trench. And you now are a part of that deep water, and that water carries you softly, safely, and you are no longer thinking about anything. You are just feeling, and this feeling is peace. This feeling is calmness. This feeling is being home, and the Mariana Trench is now your home. And this home embraces you, and you are safe, completely safe. And now, I will tell you one last thing. The Mariana Trench is not just a place. It is also a metaphor. Because in life, we all have deep trenches, hard times, dark moments, pressurized situations. But the Mariana Trench teaches us something. It teaches us that even in the deepest darkness, there is life. Even under the highest pressure, there is beauty. Even in the farthest places, there is connection. Because every creature in the Mariana Trench is connected to every creature on the surface, part of the same ocean. drop of the same water, child of the same planet, and you too, in the same way, are connected to all humanity, to all living things, to the entire universe, because every atom in your body was once inside a star, and every oxygen molecule you breathe was once in a tree's leaf, and every water molecule you drink was perhaps once at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And this connection never leaves you alone, because you are a part of the universe, and the universe is a part of you. And now, let this thought calm you. Let this knowledge relax you, and let the deep silence of the Mariana Trench seep into your mind. And there, inside that silence, find peace, and inside that peace, find sleep, and inside that sleep, find dreams. And let those dreams be soft, and let those dreams be beautiful, because you deserve this peace. And now, take one last breath, deep, slow, and let go, and let all thoughts flow away, just like the currents in the Mariana Trench, silently, calmly, and forever. And now, I will say nothing more. Only silence will remain, and that silence will stay with you. And you, inside that silence, slowly, very slowly, will fall asleep. And this sleep will be deep. This sleep will be peaceful, because you are at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, at the deepest point of silence. And there, everything is complete, everything is beautiful, and you are safe, completely safe. Good night, soft dreams, and remember, you are a miracle of the universe, and the universe is proud of you. Now sleep, sleep comfortably, and wake up tomorrow to a new day, fresh, rested, and peaceful, because the silence of the Mariana Trench is now inside you, and that silence will always protect you. Good night, good night, good night.